Hello everyone, welcome to Hindu Center of Atlanta's weekly spiritual learning. I Dhananjay Gupta welcome you all. Acharya Brahmadevji has joined us from Mauritius today. Acharya will be explaining about the Vedic Hindu scriptures. He will be giving us the overview of Vedic Hindu scriptures and allied texts. Acharya Brahmadevji has had an inclusive educational background in science, banking from University of Mauritius, Management ABE UK, and Darsanacharya, Vedic Philosophy, Darshan Yog Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India, and a diverse career in financial services, industry, and at Arya Sabha Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga and meditation, and on interfaith and intercultural dialogue at various national and international forums. The Mauritius Council of Religions, Arya Pratinidhi Sabha America, Greater Atlanta Vedic Temple, and Hindu Center of Atlanta Yoga and Meditation Center in Coming. He is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy and contemporary issues in English and French. Over to Acharya.
Namaste, everybody. Just bring our mind to focus. One simple short exercise. Sit down straight, close the eyes gently, and while closing the eyes, we'll tell ourselves we are closing our mind to external thoughts and closing our hearts to external emotions. Focus on the breathing exercise. Deep inhale and exhale, and feeling the breath moving in and out of the nostrils. While exhaling, we are going to do Om Jap 3 times, then Gayatri Mantra, and then go into the subject of today. तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो न प्रचोदयात्. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Join the palms together, rub them gently, cover the eyes, open the eyes slowly. Below the palms, external light doesn't hit our eyes. And energy to the facial muscles. Keep the facial muscles relaxed with a gentle smile. So I'll start with the sharing the screen, just 1 minute, please. So namaste, welcome everybody. And our subject of today is about an overview of the Vedic Hindu text and allied. So the first and foremost text of the Vedic Hindu philosophy is the Vedas. In fact, it's the Ved, but since it's in 4 volumes, it's referred to as the Vedas. And the Vedas are the ultimate authority, supreme authority as regards to Vedic Hindu philosophy. Why so? Because the Vedas were revealed by God to mankind at the time of creation. That was the revelation at the time of creation, just like in day-to-day world, when we buy an equipment, we get the manual, or the manual is already integrated, like for example, in a laptop, in a phone, the manual is there. So that's the manual of righteous living a virtuous life. Ved, the root word is vid, means knowledge. Ved is the largest repository of knowledge, and as such is Dhyanart. Then it's factual knowledge about spiritual sciences, physical sciences. It's called Sattart. It's for the well-being, peace and prosperity of the universe. That's Labhart. Then it triggers a thought process within us to always put the questions to ourselves, challenge our assumptions, whether we are right or wrong, whether we are on the path of truth or not, whether we are virtuous in our thoughts, in our words, and in our deeds. So that's Vicharart. And as the largest repository of knowledge, Ved is in Vedic Sanskrit. That's quite different from the common day-to-day Sanskrit, which is the Sanskrit language, because it's unfolded directly from the Vedic text, the Vedas, and is often referred also to as Bhasha. It's the oldest layer of Sanskrit literature, and ISBN, even UNESCO, recognizes the Rig Veda as the oldest scriptures of mankind. The tradition of Vedic chanting was originally proclaimed as intangible cultural heritage of humanity. And in 2008, it was formally inscribed. So that's the traditional of oral chanting of the Vedas, which that's why Veda is called Shruti, because it was revealed and then transmitted from generations to generations by word of mouth till pen and paper became into being. But before that, it was the papyrus leaves. It was written there. Shruti, knowledge handed down to posterity in the oral tradition. And to keep the pattern and to verify whether there was any addition or subtraction, any alteration to that, the Vedas were chanted in at least 8 different patterns. And to verify if there has been any addition, subtraction, or adulteration, we just had to compare the various patterns and come to the authentic part. And that's why the Vedas have been preserved as such, intact, and has been, as we say, adulteration proof. If we'll try to look at the Vedas in the internet, the age, it will say at one point in time, 1500 years before Christ. Then it was reviewed with the archaeology, linking it to Mohenjo-Daro culture civilization, which comes to about 4000 years BC. And then now presently, the revised age is about some 10,000 years BC. However, these are the stories built by the invaders of India just to downsize the magnitude, the magnanimity of the Vedas. In fact, when Hindus start prayers, there is something which they say Sankalp Path, or the reading of the calendar. It usually gives the date, the place, the time, and the year in which we are running. And that's the Sankalp Path. And if we look at it, it says, Ek Arab Chianbe Karor. So that's 1,960,853,121 men years since the Veda were revealed to mankind. And that Shruti has been transmitted, that reading of the calendar again has been transmitted by word of mouth, because it was being done daily, and daily at least twice when people were sitting for Sandhya, the meditation prayers time, at dawn and dusk. So let's see how the Vedas were given to the four rishis. The four rishis to whom the Vedas were revealed, it's not that God chose four men. The choice was on the four most noble souls as to the karmas accumulated in the previous creations. And then Rigved was revealed to Agni Rishi, Yajurved to Vayu Rishi, Samved to Aditya Rishi, and Atharvaved to Angira Rishi. The rishis were put in the meditative mode, and then knowledge was given by God to them. Now the question is, why was the knowledge revealed at that point in time and we don't get knowledge now? If we go into the practice of yoga meditation, as per the writings of Maharishi Patanjali on the Yoga Darshan, when we go at the highest level of meditation, samadhi, then we'll be receiving knowledge directly from God. And this is what rishis did when society was faced with problems. Health problem came, Maharishi Shushruta went into meditation and compiled the knowledge about well-being, about wellness from the Vedas, and came with the Shushruta Samhita. Likewise, Charak Samhita, that is also about Ayurveda wellness. We get the Manu Smriti by Rishi Manu, and so many things like that. So still now, if we get the habit of silencing our mind, our emotions, the mental and emotional activities, we can still catch the divine guidance, the inner voice talking to us. So it's not a question that God gave the knowledge at that point in time and it was closed. No, we're still getting the divine guidance in our day-to-day life. It's only for us to train ourselves to listen to that. Ved consists of two types of knowledge, Paravidya and Aparavidya. Paravidya is the worldly knowledge, Paramarth Dhyan. Now that is the spiritual sciences, and Aparavidya is the Vyavahara Dhyan, the day-to-day living. Ved is also known as Traividya for Dhyan, Karma, and Upasana. It's about knowledge, actions, and communion with the self, communion for self-realization, for God realization. And if we look into the four Vedas, each is classified into one segment. Rigveda is known as the Jnana Kand because of the volume of knowledge there. Knowledge is the main topic. Yajurveda is known as Karma Kand because actions, it directs us to actions. Samveda is the Upasana Kand because it's more about meditation. And Atharvaveda is the Vijnana Kand, the logic and the science. And if we look into the Ved, the first mantra itself guides us. Rigveda is Agni Mile Purohitam. Agni is the physical light, energy, and the light of knowledge. Because when God created the universe, created light, and with that light, we've been able to see all around us, to acquire physical sciences, knowledge about the physical sciences, about the universe around us. So that is dhyan. But then it's not the question that Rig Veda doesn't have anything about actions, about meditation or science. No, it's full of that. But the main topic is dhyan. Ayurveda is, the first mantra says, Shreshtatat mam karmana. It guides us towards the actions of the highest level in terms of virtue, in terms of righteous actions. Samved, the first mantra is there, Ye Trishapta Pariyanti. No, it's about uh, Agna Ayahi Vitaye Grinano Havyadataye, communicating with God within our hearts. And that is through meditation, through devotion, and following the guidance of God as regards to the spiritual sciences and day-to-day life. Atharva Ved is about Ye Trishapta Pariyanti. So Trishapta know the base material Prakriti Sattva Rajtam. This is the smallest particle of matter, and this is what becomes the admixture for creation of this universe. So that's why it's called the Vijnan Kand, full of logic, full of science, and this is where engineering, Ayurveda, etc. are more fully described. Then the Ved have a set of other literature which was developed by the Rishi. It was more codifying the knowledge. We've got the Upaved and their subject matter. Ayurveda is the Upaved of Atharva Ved, it's about medicine. Dhanurved is military science. Gandharva Ved is music. Shilpa is about mechanics, architecture. Now we have the Vedang. It's related subjects with the Vedas. We have Siksha, is about articulation, pronunciation, and that is very important, because if our articulation and pronunciation is not sharp, then people can misunderstand us. One example would be when we say she and she, SHE and SEA. These are two different things. So instead of reading sea, referring to the oceans, I say she, that points to a female person. And if instead of pointing to a female person as she, I'll say si, then that gives another meaning. So we have to be careful in that. Then Chanda is prosody. It's about meters in writing, especially poetry. And the Vedas also are metered. Then there's Vyakaran, grammar. There's Nirukt, on the etymology of words, on the constructions of word from the root words of Sanskrit. Then there's Jyotish, Jyotish about astronomy. It's about the planets, the stars, etc. The rotation, and like it enables us to also forecast about eclipse and things like that. It's not about the palmistry, which we know common. Jyotish is full astronomy and science. There's Kalp, which is about the rituals, institutional ceremonials. Then we have the Upanishads. Upanishad is about spiritual sciences. We have the Darshanas, which is philosophy full of also spiritual sciences. Like we have the Yog Darshan, which is about communion, self-realization, realization of God, and realization of matter. We have Sankhya Darshan, which treats about creation. We have Nyaya Vaisheshik Darshan, which is about physics. We have Nyaya Darshan, which is about logic. And standards of proof. We have Mimamsa Darshan, which is about ceremonials, and we have the Vedanta, which is the essence of the Vedas. It's not the Vedanta as we know. Vedanta Darshan is something else, and Vedanta is something else. Vedanta Darshan is strictly on the essential knowledge of the Vedas. Then we have the Griha Sutras describing rituals, sanskaras, sacraments. And we have the Manu Smriti, and Manu is known as the universal law giver, recognized as such even in the Arabian countries. And most of the tough laws there, the source is the Manu Smriti. Like it says, when somebody who is doing an offense in total ignorance, he gets the fine of, say, $1. And somebody who is knowledgeable and doing that, as we say, with full knowledge, then he gets the fine of $1,000. So that's things like that to maintain law and order. Then we have the Kautilya Arthashastra. Arthashastra is about economics. And the one beautiful line there, it says, everything starts with money. It shows the essence of money, but then it goes also into that economics is not the only aspect of life. Economics have to be humane. It has to look at the human development in society. And human should be the first and foremost consideration in economics. So the goals need to be aligned on the human values. Then we have the Chanakya Niti, which is very famous again. And we often see posts on the social media about Chanakya Niti. It's all about politics. And the people who've read the Chanakya Niti, if they follow that, they are going to, as we say, bring that spiritual mind or the righteous part of politics, which we always refer to politics as dirty, but then it unfolds the beauty of politics also. Why these texts are considered as universal? That's a question mark. Not only the Vedas, but the Upanishads, the Darshan Shastras, Manusmriti, the Kautilya Shastra, the Sanskrit grammar, all these, why are they considered as universal? They're considered universal because of the concepts. Like if we take the Sanskrit grammar, German and Greek have the same pattern. And Greek is known, along with Latin, to be the mother of all other European languages. And English is known to be a direct derivative of German language. So if we look into the details of that, then we'll see that that pattern of grammar had an impact on that. Likewise, as regards to law, as regards to economics, as regards to other fields like health, military science, music, etc., there's a core, and that core knowledge is from the allied texts, which I was talking about. So let's see some of the universal concepts which tells us that these are really universal. The Vedas tells us Manur Bhava Devyam Janam. Be human. And it says be human, though we are born in the human form of life. Why so much emphasis? It says human is always noble in thoughts, in speech, and actions. Manasa vacha karmana. And by being noble, we have all what we do is take into consideration human life, human beings around us, and treating everybody as at par as human beings. The other universal concept which comes from Veda is mitrasya chakshusha samikshamahe. Let's look at all with a friendly eye, and the all is living and non-living beings. Like when we look at Mother Earth, this will look as a friendly eye because Mother Earth gives us space, gives us all what we need to grow. We look at air, that also should be with a friendly eye. Don't pollute the air, because that's life sustaining. We need air to live. It's the same with water. It's the same with other forms of life, because these help to maintain the ecological balance of this universe. The words may seem that we've taken words from the common day-to-day language and fit it there to give the definition. No. If we unfold the meaning of that within the Sanskrit context and bring it to the modern English language, this is what is defined there. Often people will say, no, we've taken bits and pieces and tune it to the current context. No, the context was there because mankind was living there at the time of creation. So the knowledge was already given and the concepts really universal. Then we have the concept of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, the world as a global family, as one family. But then not according to the present context, based only on trade or exploitation. It was on the universal living values. The values which transcend time, which transcend place, transcend circumstances, transcend whether we belong to the Western society, the Eastern society, whether we belong to a community, we belong to a group. The values are the same, cutting across all segments of society. Like we say, ahimsa, non-violence, satya, be truthful, asteya, not to steal, brahmacharya, self-restraint, control over the senses, and dedicated to learning and apply that learning in life. Aparigraha, non-accumulation of things. Then Soch, purity of body, mind, and spirit. Santosh, be content. Tapa, developing resilience to face adversity. Swadhyaya, study of the scriptures just to be on the right path. Ishwar Pranidhan, surrender to God, surrender to the laws of nature, to the laws in the creation. So if we look into this, really universal, it applies whether somebody believes in the Vedic Hindu religion, the Hindu faith, or whether he's Christian, whether he's Muslim. You can't say these don't apply to me. It's really universal. Then we have the universal concepts of unity. Sangachadvam sambadadvam samvo manansi janatam. So it says samvo manansi janatam. The unity starts within ourselves, the harmony between the thoughts, the speech, words, and actions. And then in Gayatri Mantra, the most famous Ved mantra, Dhyo Yonaha Prachodayat, is the universal prayer for the enlightenment of the intellect. Praying to Ishwar God that lead our mind into righteous thoughts and righteous actions. And that's why often I put the question to people, do you know something about the Vedas? Often people say no. I say, no, stop doing that, because do you know the Gayatri Mantra? They say, yes. And I say, just learn the meaning of that. If anybody puts the question to you, do you know anything about the Vedas? Yes, I know one mantra, the Gayatri Mantra, and there we pray for the enlightened mind, the enlightened intellect, to be able to differentiate between truth and untruth, between virtue and vice, dharma and adharma. Then we'll be able to assert ourselves as real human beings in our duties, in our responsibilities as part of the human society. The other concept is about Shanti part. Dyo Shanti Antariksham Shanti Prithvi, the concept of universal peace. And it's also telling us to live in harmony with all the elements in nature, whether living or non-living. So truly universal concepts there. Then there's the concept of which we know, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, especially in the present context of the dire times of COVID, with the lockdowns and everything. We've seen people just posting this mantra from the Upanishad. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kashchit dukha bhavet. May all be happy. Sarve bhavantu sukhina. Sarve santo niramaya. May none be under the burden of pain, suffering, and afflictions. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Whatever we look around be for our welfare, for the benefit of the whole of humanity. So it goes really into the universal concept. When we are doing the prayers, even using the Ved mantras, it's never I, it's we. So these are the universal concepts. And let's look also at the universal concept of God. God is Ananda, all blissful. And we say Sat Chit Anand. Sat is about Satta, existent. Then Chit is consciousness. And Anand is bliss. Then we refer to Ishvara as Sarva Vyapak, omnipresent. Call it by any name. Those names describe the characteristics or the actions of God. And the Vedas itself say, Om Kham Brahma, Om Krato Smara Klibe Smara Kritam Smaradi. This is the main name of Ishvara God to be used in chanting, to be remembered at all times. Om as Sarvajya, omniscient, all knowledgeable. Dayalu, all merciful. Nyayakari, all just. So we see all these names describe one characteristic. And the holistic, the all-inclusive name is Om. Then the goals of human life, that is also universal. Dharma, righteous living. Artha, righteous earnings. Kama, righteous enjoyment of the righteous earnings. And ultimately moksha. So it doesn't say that we have to be just only living righteously. We earn righteously, we enjoy righteously. So we see it's a combination of the spiritual and physical sciences, of the worldly knowledge and the spiritual knowledge. It's combined and it forms part of, we say, we have two legs. These are the two legs that we have to stand on. The worldly side of life and the spiritual side of life. Ultimately, moksha is liberation, salvation, and this is also part of all the faith across the world. Some believe in the last day of the judgment, some believe in hell and heaven. So the Hindu philosophy says we are going to be born again and again till we don't attain moksha and mukti. This is the difference. But ultimately, it's about salvation, liberation from the cycle of birth and death. Then we have other concepts which probably we can look into at some other time, like Yama Niyama and the 10 tenets of Dharma. I think we'll keep it for the next session to go into the gist of the Vedic Hindu philosophy. And for today, I'll end here because we are left with 5 minutes. So if there's any questions, we'll leave the floor open for that. There's a question of unmute yourself and then.
These are means universal values. It is not related with only Hindu dharma. It is related with the human being.
Yeah, it's not only values, it's full set of knowledge and
Yeah,
which is
living
open
values.
to everybody.
These are the living values which anybody can, whichever religion they follow, everybody can associate with these values.
Yeah. They can also delve into the knowledge like the sciences, physics, mechanics, architecture, engineering, or the medical science of Ayurveda, or the music of Gandharva Ved, or the military science of Dhanur Ved, or the Viman Shastra by Maharshi Bhardwaj. These are accessible to the whole of the universe. It's not a question that these are only for Hindus or people who believe in the Vedas. It's for the whole world. And what's the beauty of it is that when it's codified, we've got the Manusmriti on law, we've got the Vyakaran on the constructions of grammar, we've got constructions of word, the root word to go into the right meaning, and there we get the knowledge that one word may have more than one meaning, and it has to be within the context and within the subject that is being discussed. And when we go into Jnana Karma Upasana, correct knowledge, correct actions, and correct compliance to the laws of nature, to the human values, these are, like we say, the Vedas teaches us what is devotion. Devotion is not just only following one book or one text. Devotion, it says, take it from what we would take to be a devoted child, following the guidance of the parents, following the guidance of the elderly, the teachers. So if we are devotee of God, let's be on the same footing. It can't be a different footing. And that footing is universal, that we have to follow the values, the teachings that are there in the scriptures. So that's the universality of it.
Thank you, Acharyaji. We will have another session continuance of this one next Sunday at same time, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Before that, we will have for the kids session on Friday. The kids learn the Vedic mantras and their meanings. Friday at 9 p.m. to 9:30, and Saturday we will have a weekly satsang on Saturday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time.
So
Thank you all
just
for
one word to end, please. This is the times of festivities at the close of the year. Let's learn the lessons of 2020, which were really tough for mankind. Let's try to scale down the level of festivities and look around us if there is somebody needy, or we can do some charitable actions. Let's engage really to be true human beings, and that is part of adding to our Nishkam Karma selfless service, dedicated service to humanity, and that is part of the teaching of the Vedas, part of the teaching of the Gita and the Ramayana also. And if we add to that, we'll be adding beauty to the beauty of nature, to the light of nature, and unfolding more and more the humane aspects of humane life, which unfortunately COVID came as a reminder because we're moving away from that. Wish you all happy season's greetings. Have a happy time, but then also don't forget, connect to each and everybody as we can, not physically, but virtually we can connect. Spend some prime time with loved ones and dear ones. Thank you, everybody.